When we fight our bodies and we fight our weight, we keep in this elusive state of diet starts tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be a different person. We put off living. We put off the discomfort of being human. We put off the beauty of being human. There are no high vibes or, quote, positive thinking. High vibes aren't a thing. All vibes and thinking have their role in where we most want to be, which is the freedom to be who you are.
You know, battling food in your body doesn't work. You want to love and accept yourself. And because you're insatiable, you want results too. You bring the same intensity to your life, wanting to maximize your time, potential, and experiences you have here on our beautiful and wondrous planet Earth. Fair warning, it will be a roller coaster. But for those insatiable, this is your prime time to thrive. Here's to saying yes to the hunger of wanting it all. I'm your host, Ali Shapiro, who is dedicated to pioneering a saner and more empowering approach to health and weight loss.
Welcome to episode 101 of the Insatiable Podcast, 10 Truths to Invigorate Your Wellness Journey. October 15th marked 10 years for me as an entrepreneur in the wellness space, studying, practicing, and synthesizing what it means to be well. What a trip, what a ride this continues to be. I love my roller coaster. In today's episode, I want to share 10 wellness truths my clients and I have experienced. I hope these insights will help invigorate your journey if you have momentum or support you to get unstuck if you're struggling. Coming from me, who has more questions than answers, settling on what was true was a fun challenge. And there's an unexpected announcement at the end you'll want to pay attention to so you aren't confused. Enjoy today's Insatiable episode. Welcome, Insatiable listeners, to episode 101. Wow. Palindrome number, huh? So I hope you guys liked last week where Lisa interviewed me. And I mentioned on the podcast then, and if you follow me on social media or you're on my list, you know that October 15th is also my business birthday. So my biological birthday is October 1st, and then I started my business on October 15th in 2007. So not only are we right around the anniversary, the 100th episode of Insatiable, and it's my birthday, but I'm celebrating 10 years of being an entrepreneur in the wellness world. Wow. I don't know. I could do a whole episode or maybe 1,000 episodes on building a wellness business that's grounded in, not playing to people's weight loss fears, etc. I don't know if that would be interesting to you, and you can let me know if it would be. But today I wanted to share with you 10 truths I know for sure after being in wellness for 10 years, what I have come to believe about the body, about our battle with food, our battle with ourselves, this insatiable craving sometimes for weight loss, and the importance of emotional health, all that kind of stuff wrapped up into 10 truths. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then I have a really important, announcement update at the end. And you definitely want to stick around for that. Otherwise, you might be a little bit confused in the following weeks. So stay tuned for that. So like I said, October 15th, 2007, I started in the wellness world. And I really wanted to help people. And I still do. And in fact, I feel more optimistic about people's ability to heal themselves, take control, not control of your health, right? Agency, we talk about on this podcast a lot. Agency is to know your independent choices, know the choices you have. That can be from, if you want to lose weight, know that you don't have to count calories or points or drink shakes. You can tackle that from a different perspective. If you want to heal yourself from depression or Hashimoto's, you can use food and emotional healing to do all that stuff. So I'm all about independent choice, which is what agency is. And so and it's interesting, when I started out 10 years ago, I was giving talks in corporations about why nutrition mattered. Can you believe that? I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're an early adopter of wellness and knowing the power of nutrition. But yeah, I was giving talks on, sugar is inflammatory and all this kind of stuff that I think we often now know, but how do we implement? Where's that gap? And I hope that these 10 truths that I selected for this 10-year anniversary will help you on your own path. So, truth number 1, fighting your body keeps up the illusion that we have more time than we do. It makes you live in the future and absent in the present, leaving you insatiably hungry for what's real and true. Now, this is a pretty hard one to digest. I know when I was battling food, battling depression, I didn't want to be battling, right? And part of my work is getting people to see that the battle is an illusion. We can have other choices. But one of the things that I think is really difficult to swallow, pun intended, is that when we believe that weight loss, or once we reverse our diagnosis, or once we're off medication, if we believe that that finish line is going to give us some sort of internal contentment, we're fooling ourselves. And what it does by not knowing how to deal with discomfort today is it also makes us not as available to the joy and the magic and just that sense of, I did that, right, from doing hard things. And so when we fight our bodies and we fight our weight, we keep in this elusive state of diet starts tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be a different person. We put off living. We put off the discomfort of being human. We put off the beauty of being human. And so I hope for those of you listening that you don't put that off any longer. It doesn't mean denying how you're feeling. It means examining the battle. It means examining your emotions, being with them. And that leads me to truth number 2. Food can be a profound and transformational invitation to living the life meant for you, or in Oprah terms, your quote, best life. However, your best life won't always feel the best, and it will be better than you imagine. So here's why when other coaches have kind of, once they figured out their food issues and have moved on to business coaching or something else, or just don't find food interesting that more. I myself am not a foodie and you're never going to see me doing recipes. Yet, food connects us to our bodies. It is immediate feedback, and food tells all. And so it can be, if you examine what's happening in this relentless cycle of being good, being bad, falling off, and if you really examine that, you're going to get your whole self back if you stay with it. And that is your best life. The one where you are whole, you are powerful, and you're doing the choosing. It won't always feel that way. And that's okay, because when you come through it, it will have been worthwhile. So don't dismiss the battle, right? Let's examine it. Third wellness truth. Our body battle is fueled by emotional baggage we don't even know we are carrying. What we want most is freedom from recreating our past and agency to create beauty from the hardest things in our lives. So I'll give you a personal example to bring this to life. My diet starts tomorrow, my binging, my emotional eating was all based on feeling unsafe from having had cancer, from what I would later discover being bullied severely in 5th grade. I would also find it was from being poisoned by pesticides when I was 8 years old, which started my weight gain. So I didn't know I was carrying any of that around. I thought it was in my past, and my clients are shocked to find that they're still carrying this emotional baggage around. And so what we want is not to say those things didn't happen or to say, hey, we're better for them, which we can be, but to embody how those things made us better and how we can create something beautiful from those things that broke us open. And I think my business is what I would consider the beauty I'm creating from my cancer experience. And so I wanted freedom from the risks and the lack of safety in the very small comfort zone that cancer and these other experiences had put me in. Not in the areas I was confident in, but areas that were more vulnerable. I really wanted freedom to have more freedom in those zones. And that's what half of our body battle is really about. And so if you really want to, have a truce with food or make progress with your wellness, I hope you will seek out resources that take your emotional health as seriously as your physical health, because they're actually interconnected, which is why my clients realize they sometimes get even better results with their depression, with their Hashimoto's, etc., because they are changing the emotional patterns that cause their bodies to be in a chronic stress state, which inhibits healing. And also all physical issues like depression, etc., have an emotional component. Okay, number 4, when we heal, we discover the depth of our humanity and capabilities. The way to this radical truth is through the body. Your body, the earth's body, our political bodies. Our bodies have never been separate. So I'm recording this podcast in another crazy week, right? I don't even know if I would say crazy. I would say madness. The same way that there are earthquakes, that there are fires burning, that there are floods and hurricanes. These metaphors are also what's ripping through my clients' lives right now. Relationships that have turned towards infidelity or addiction, the fiery of their bodies, of inflammation, of Hashimoto's, of depression. I'm kind of landing on those because I just had some clients struggling with those. Feeling underwater with not overwhelm, right? All of the things that we choose to do to our physical bodies are part of a larger narrative that we've inherited from our cultures. And our cultural conditioning is politics. The politics is personal. I think that's something that's been a huge awakening for me in this last year. And so to understand these connections, we have to start with healing ourselves. When we start to do that, we realize how strong we are. We figure out what matters to us, not what we thought mattered to us. And we really understand the capability and depth of forgiveness, of love, and radical truth. So don't think healing is something that isn't part of this collective healing that we're either going to do or we're not going to do. I think the jury's still out. All right, number 5, the writer Ursula Le Guin was spot on when she said, "We are volcanoes. When we women offer our experiences as truth, as human truth, all the maps change. There are new mountains." So here's one thing that I've realized is that it is the stories we have not been hearing, whether that's from Black lives, from Native American lives, from women's voices, from the poor, from the sick. Those are the stories that have shaped what we think works and what doesn't work. The fact that we haven't heard them. We only have one narrative to choose from. That's not agency. That's tyranny. So when women who have been dismissed by the medical system, right? Women often, and I don't want to make overgeneralizations, but in a whole, a man comes in with the wrist pain, he's getting an MRI, a workup. A woman comes in, it's all in your head, right? When women stop second guessing their experiences and counting that as enough of experience, everything's going to change. I'll give you an example of this. I have a client who was in Truths with Food this last round and has put her Hashimoto's into remission. And we were all so proud of her. And her first reaction was, did I not even have it in the first place? Right? She didn't even trust her own power. And she worked. This did not just happen. She went through the fire. And I know she's listening, and I hope you know we're all so proud of you, and she knows that. But she did that. And now as she starts to offer that experience as truth, guess what? The people in her life who are open, they're going to start to change. And then those people are going to start to change. So we need to recognize, especially as women or anyone who's been marginalized, that our truths matter. Number 6, there are no high vibes or, quote, positive thinking. High vibes aren't a thing. All vibes and thinking have their role and where we most want to be, which is the freedom to be who you are, or we are. So, we throw around the words patriarchy here a lot on this podcast, but that pyramid structure that guides, especially North American culture and Western culture, puts up a hierarchy of vibes, that there's high vibes and low vibes. Guess what? That's not a thing. That's made up. And people who are going to dismiss that you're being negative or that you're not positive or that you brought this on yourself because of your low vibe thinking, I don't even know what to say. I don't want to create a reaction against that. Just please delete those people from your social media feeds or recognize that they're on their own path and that has worked for them for now. Yet I have found, which is truth number 7, you get exponentially more results when you explore your discomfort. Ignore self-help, quote, gurus, right? Even putting someone on a pedestal is very pyramid-like, right? Nah, we're all in this together. We all have something to offer. But ignore self-help gurus who tell you to just push past or unattach from your discomfort. What you resist persists. Now, I am not a Buddhist expert, but I know a lot of times why people have only gotten marginal relief is because they try to detach from their emotional state. When you go through it and you examine it, new mountains do come about. Or if you're a beach person, you will have new shores to see. But the more you can explore your discomfort, you free yourself from that discomfort. What you embrace dissolves. And so if you really want to make a change, work with someone or look for resources that honor that and then have tools to help you cut through that and transform that. That's where you're going to get life-changing results. It's so fun. It's so liberating. Although everyone defines fun differently. I think it's so fun. All right, number 8, measuring how far you've come versus how far you still have to go is helpful when you're in a cycle of beating yourself up. So here's the thing that my clients and I have discovered. Once you start exploring your discomfort, you start being more of who you are, you start changing in ways that were unexpected. You have new goals. You have new directions you want to go. So that finish line of contentment that you thought was going to happen with weight loss happens before. That finish line that happens before you fully fully have reversed your depression or not, right? You realize you don't need that anymore. It's just a permission slip, right? You don't need permission anymore. So you start to try new things, right? I'm still working on my health, as I shared with Lisa. Just because I'm not battling food and I don't care about my weight, it doesn't mean that I've ridden off into the sunset, right? So when and then sometimes we're just struggling. We're really struggling and we think about, why did I do this? Blah, blah, blah. I can't believe it. I'm in the same place. But looking back, what have you done differently? What improvements have you made, right? There's always going to be further spaces to go. But we can't hate ourselves into we can't hate ourselves into a loving relationship with ourselves. We have to love ourselves. And I mean radical love, which means have compassion for our discomfort, for our setbacks, and expecting more from ourselves that we can learn from it. What did I learn? What happened here? What can I do better? Right? Having the capacity to hold both. And that happens the more you embrace your discomfort. But measure how far you've come versus how far you need to go. Number 9, and I think this one, as someone who's always identified as an outsider, has felt different. I talked about that in episode 100 with Lisa, not only from my family upbringing, but being bullied, having had cancer, and now being an entrepreneur when most of my friends, or I should say half my friends, but I know my family for sure, all had traditional jobs. Whatever, we can find whatever we want to attach to. But this number 9 is we need each other. Belonging matters. I think at this stage in our civilization and what is happening on a global scale is we need to learn to belong within our differences. It's no longer enough to be tribal, to say, well, I'm Republican or Democrat, or I'm fit is the new strong. What are all these things? No, there's no camps anymore. We belong. You're of course going to find people that you identify with more and more, and have different values. And we need to belong in those ways, but also find a way for those of us to expand that sense of belonging and how we get along. I think America, I obviously have a lot of criticisms of it. And yet I also think we are we have a really good head start at trying to figure out how to really live amongst those differences. This is a huge experiment here in the country that I was born into, and Western culture, I would say. So we do need each other in our communities. And I know for a lot of my clients, they realize they felt like outsiders too from being bullied, and we have to heal that. They're suspect of other women. It's when we get into Truths with Food, it's part of why they compare themselves to other women's bodies. It has nothing to do with someone's weight. It has everything to do with trying to protect ourselves from where are we on the social hierarchy. And until we really embrace that we need each other, we're going to be, dis-eased. One of those memes that was passing around is there's I in illness and we in wellness. And I think truer words were never spoken. Doesn't mean you have to love, like everyone. As my grandma used to say, I don't always like people, but I love them. I like that. All right. Number 10, drum roll. Although because I'm insatiable, I put in 11. I even had a hard time. Oh my God, only 10? Oh, only 11. But number 10, your blood work or your wardrobe or your diagnosis don't have that much power. Trying to get healthy or lose weight for the sake of health or weight loss isn't motivating enough. You have to connect these changes to a more free and powerful everyday. Look, I try to be as real as possible. I'm not going to deny that fitting into your clothes feels awesome. That when you get that blood work down, like my client did, and your Hashimoto's is in remission, you don't feel badass. Or when you have struggled with depression, like I have at serious bouts in my life. Yeah. And then when you get sad again, it's not as all consuming because each time you get a little better at it. But these diagnoses and these wardrobes, they don't have the power. The more you give them the power, the more powerless you're going to be. Now, there's a big ass bridge to really believing that and embodying that. But I want to offer you that if you can feel more free and powerful a little bit every day, take your power back there. Don't give it to what diet you're on or what clothes you're wearing. Your emotional state, you can shift and change. It doesn't happen overnight. It's going to kick your ass and you're going to walk out of there dusting off your shoulder like I did that. So please start looking for your power in other places. Okay. And because, like I said, I'm insatiable and my parents nicknamed me one more time, Allie, when they were exhausted and I didn't want to leave any of the fun, it's bonus time. Number 11, and this dovetails from number 10. Health is about, are you alive? It isn't only about if you have a diagnosis, if you're on meds or off meds, or what you weigh. Your life wants to know if you're nurturing the creative energy that pulses through you and wants to be expressed in only the way that you can. Take that in. We all have this creative energy in us. It gets projected onto weight loss, misdirected onto weight loss, or our health and diagnoses. Yet the real question is, are we alive? Are you taking chances? Are you taking risks? Are you here for the full range of the human experience? So these 11 truths can be best summed up by one of my favorite quotes by poet and philanthropist Donna J. Stone. And my manager, Chrisula, if you're listening, when I worked in Paris and lived there, gave me this quote. I believe this is where I first found it, and it's still one of my favorite quotes today. Donna J. Stone says, "The most visible creators are those artists whose medium is life itself, the ones who express the inexpressible without brush, hammer, clay, or guitar. They neither paint nor sculpt. Their medium is simply being. Whatever their presence touches has increased life. They see but don't have to draw because they are the artists of being alive." Love that. Okay. So those are my 10 truths. I'm sure in my 11th year, I'll come back with 11 different truths, or they'll be the 10 truths will be clearer than the 11. But I hope you enjoyed them. If you want a copy of these, they're on my blog, alishapiro.com/blog, and also alishapiro.com/podcast. In the show notes, there will be a link to that. Okay. So I said I had an announcement for you. Another drum roll. Oh, but before that, I can never be linear. I apologize. Thank you for hanging in with me all these episodes. If this podcast, you got value from it, and some people who would benefit, will you please share it? You guys have been so amazing about sharing the podcast. I love how it's grown. It's been slow and steady, like most progress is. We came out with a bang, which was super cool. And then we've just grown slow and steady. And if you could share the podcast, that would be fantastic. And then if you could leave a review. So many of you said, I'm going to do it. And we're holding steady at 63 reviews, which is awesome. And I'm so grateful. And if you could get to those reviews, it will really help the show and help more people find this different mentality around nutrition. And the quicker we can change the individual mentality, the bigger the collective one. And so then makes it even easier on your transformation path. So my little announcement, I am taking an 8-week hiatus from producing new Insatiable episodes. So that may sound like, what? No, the podcast isn't going anywhere. I'm more in love with it than ever. I have already recorded some new episodes. They're just not going to release for 8 weeks. However, in this 8-week period, I'll tell you why I'm pausing it in a second, but I will be re-releasing 8 episodes that I think you need to listen to again. If you're a regular listener to the show, you know that there are lots of layers here. And one of my clients just told me she went back and listened to several episodes. And now that she's gone through Truth with Food, she hears everything one layer, a couple layers deeper and all that stuff. So I want the 8 episodes I'm re-releasing. I want you to go back and listen to them. You're going to hear different things as you're at a different spot on your journey. So I hope you'll re-listen to them and mark your calendars for the solstice, because we will be back. I think it's that Wednesday. We're, I think, still going to do Wednesdays. Yes, we are. Be back December 20th when we are at the darkest day. But as I remember hearing in one of my yoga classes many moons ago, is when we are the solstice, what I love that it symbolizes is we are in the darkest period, yet we're also closest to the light as we start to turn towards the light in the longer days. So we'll come back in December 20th. There's so many great episodes planned. Like I said, I've already done some of the interviews. We're going to have a little bit of a tighter focus. I know I can ramble, and I know that I let my own curiosity get the best of me and I go off on tangents. So we're going to have a little bit of a tighter focus. Like I've said, my new positioning is radical truth for everybody. So we're going to be getting radically true with our guests and be talking about the layers of the body, from political, again, cultural conditioning as we think about it, to the earth and to our physical bodies. And so the reason I'm taking a pause is not because the podcast isn't growing and it's not, the feedback I get from it, I love it. And I love how helpful it is. I mean, that's the thing that energizes me, is the conversations it sparked and the way so many people have been helped from it. I love it, from regular bowel movements to clarity to having more agency. It's all good. It's all wellness. But what's happening is I'm working on a book proposal. I'm working on a new website. And I'm working on training the trainers around Truth with Food. So I'm a big believer, and it's something I'm constantly practicing, is to not rush through things and not just try to check things off my list, but enjoy them. So I'm experimenting a little bit with slowing down, really enjoying things, and not trying to do it all. We'll see how it goes. And so what does that mean? Yeah. So just to recap, 8-week hiatus on the podcast. I will be re-releasing 8 episodes that I think you need to listen to again. Some of my clients have told me they've listened to episodes 3 or 4 times because they're so dense. We're going to try to thin them out a little. Still meaty. Oh God, the food puns. I can't handle how many food puns we have. Sorry, it just dawned on me. Okay, so look, I'm going on a tangent now. I can't even, right? This is a lot. I have a lot to work on. I'm a work in progress. So 8 lessons or 8 old episodes that are still timely and I want you to listen to again. I will be back out on December 20th with these incredible episodes with a tighter focus. We'll have probably the episodes will mostly be under an hour. And if you want to keep in touch in the meantime, sign up to my list at alishapiro.com, ALISHAPIRO.com, especially because I will probably be asking a couple insatiable listeners via my list if I can interview you on the formatting, what you like, what you don't like, because if I'm going to take a pause, like let's just revisit it and see if you like things like the opening quotes or, is there something more you wish I would go into, etc. So if you want to help shape the next, season of the Insatiable podcast, let me know. But the podcast is going stronger than ever. I'm just taking a breather so we can come out of the gates even better than before. So for all of you who have sent in your feedback, left your reviews, emailed me about the conversations it started, told me about the probiotic that makes you regular now from listening to the show. I love all of it. I genuinely want us to heal and get healthy in our bodies, because then the Earth's body, we don't buy the shit that's showing up in our oceans. We make better health choices in terms of where we buy our food. So we reduce climate change. We don't waste as much food. And that translates into the political body in terms of what we vote on and what we care about. And when women are liberated to speak their truth, to live their truth, and your truth, surprisingly, is not what you think it is. It's obviously messy and unfolding. But when that happens and we're okay that it's messy and unfolding, that is going to be great. And so I'm committed to that. So and I love that I've found people in our Insatiable community who are too. We're all living in exciting times. Everything's broken. So there's an opportunity to rebuild and get creative. So thank you for meeting up with me on this path. And I will see you in 2 months, and it's going to fly. And I can't wait for you to hear the episodes, especially the interviews we've already done. Until then, stay insatiably curious about your health, your truth, and I'll see you on the flip side.
Have questions or reactions about the episode? Reach out to me on Instagram and Twitter at Ali M. Shapiro, or Facebook at Facebook.com/Ali Marie Shapiro. And if you love the show, please leave an iTunes review and tell one friend this week about how to get the Insatiable podcast on their phone. See you on social media.